have no major artistic pretensions, but if something is useful from my photography, it will be in the sense of being a chronicle of my country, of my time, of my people, of how Mexico has changed. In my photos, there are things from Mexico that you don't see anymore. If I was lucky enough to find and capture those images, they can later serve as a testimony of how life has been passing and transforming, images that came to the depths of myself, like electricity, and they made me click the camera. Welcome to Inclusive Art, Arte Inclusivo podcast. I am Rebeca Navarro, and today I'm going to tell you a story to make exclusive art inclusive. You have probably heard about Lola Álvarez Bravo, a 20th century Mexican photographer. Today, I'm going to tell you the story, not about him, but about his wife, one of the most recognized photographers in Mexico who deserves and is gradually gaining worldwide recognition. Her name is Dolores Martinez de Anda, better known as Lola Álvarez Bravo. Dolores Martinez de Anda was born in Lagos de Moreno, Jalisco in 1907. Some sources say that it is possible that she was born in 1903 instead, since after her death some documents gave proof of this information. Be that as it may, Lola moved at a young age, along with her father and brother, to Mexico City, where they lived in a 28-room mansion that included a theater, a ballroom, many living rooms, and dining rooms, as well as a stable. In an interview with Cristina Pacheco, conducted in 1979 for the magazine Siempre, Lola Álvarez Bravo recalled that her house was like a fairy tale, and it was located near the Cámara de Diputados in Mexico City. This life of opulence changed a bit when his father passed away in 1916, and with the consequent impoverishment of the country caused by the Mexican Revolution that started in 1910. Living in the heart of Mexico City, she met Lola Álvarez Bravo, who was her childhood friend. Later on, they married in 1925 and shortly moved to Oaxaca, a state in the south of Mexico, where Manuel worked as an accountant for the government. He was already doing photography on the side, but as he himself stated on several occasions, he did not consider himself a professional, but an amateur. However, Lola grew her interest in photography more and more. She remembers that she and Manuel would develop photos together, and she would say to him, "Oh, let me take a photo." And I would take a photograph, but I leave the personalized for a long time. Then he would take a picture, he would develop it, and he would not take it into account again. Then I would take another photo, and it was the same. I was more concerned with revealing, washing the negatives, and doing the things we had in common there. Like a helper, let's say. And what I did with desire, but unconsciously, without my own interest in keeping it or filing it, as I was more convinced of what he was doing than what I was doing. Lola finally became a photographer after her separation from Manuel in 1934. She went to live with her great friend, Maria Izquierdo. Yes, that Maria Izquierdo, the artist, the painter, who supported her during this difficult time. Maria had also recently separated from her partner, Rufino Tamayo. Yes, that Rufino Tamayo, the artist and painter. Lola and Maria lived together for 5 years, even though for the times two women living together was viewed with suspicion, but with so much in common. Ex-husbands who became leaders of their fields, their creativity, their love for the arts, it all led both of them to form an exceptional team. Their apartment in the historic center of Mexico City, El Centro Histórico, soon became a center for the meetings of artists and scholars of the time, a legendary place. They went to walk during the day, to the Café Paris, the circus, and the Cabaret Leda at night. What a fun life! Who were these friends who could visit them? Among them was Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, Isabel Villaseñor, among others. Can you imagine these circles of friends? Lola became a drawing teacher in an elementary school, but soon an opportunity arose to become a photographer for the magazine El Maestro Rural, the rural teacher, which emerged during the administration of President Lázaro Cárdenas. In her words, "The first day, Héctor Pérez Martínez gave me some photo rolls and told me, 'The secretary comes to a meeting with the teachers, so you go down to the patio and take pictures of everyone.' But I don't know how to do this," I said. "Well, that's your job, so come downstairs and take the photos." And so, scared to death, I started. Have you ever felt like this? I certainly have. Photography in the early 20th century consisted mainly in landscape and portraiture. With the arrival of Edward Weston, Henry Cartier-Bresson, and Tina Modotti to Mexico, photography began to change, just as it was already changing in the world. Attention was now directed towards objects and light, and not so much to landscape necessarily. In previous episodes, we spoke about the view of an artist, the gaze, la mirada, referring to the unique style that each artist possessed to contribute to the arts. In that sense, photography's style was changing due to the artistic gaze that was developing, literally and figuratively. The incursion of women in photography has been documented since 1840. In Mexico, Lola Álvarez Bravo is considered the first professional woman photographer due to the particular view or mirada she possessed, but she was not the first nor the only female photographer. Since the mid-19th century, classes were offered and exhibitions were held at the San Carlos Academy. Other women, such as Victoria Torres from Toluca and Natalia Baquedano, come to attention. Tina Modotti, who was not Mexican but Italian, also opened doors to photography that Lola took advantage of. However, Álvarez Bravo, with her own merits, built her own gaze that reflected the longing for exalting daily images of the Mexican people in their day-to-day, and found inspiration in these actions. Not only did she make portraits, but also reflected the essence of the person. She made snapshots of time. She captured scenes with her camera. A group of women praying, men going up and down some stairs, two friends in a hug, etc. Using black and white photography, and later exploring photomontage, which consisted of printing photographs, cutting them, putting them together in a new message, taking another photograph to obtain a negative, and printing the final result. Remember that we are talking about the 20th century, where there was no digital photography like today. The composition, the light, the photographs taken at the moment involved knowledge, combined with artistic sensitivity, resulting in capturing a specific point of view, which for Lola Álvarez Bravo is not a colonial gaze, but an elevation of the spirit of her people, a desire to capture that essence with dignity. As mentioned by herself, "I am looking for the essence of beings and things, their spirit, their reality, interest, own experience, ethical and aesthetic commitment from the third eye of the photographer. There are those who focus it on the landscape. I am attracted to human beings." Lola's photographs were published in various media, as she was a photojournalist for publications such as Rotofoto, Hoy, Mexican Folkways, Vea, Voz, Futuro, Espacios, Avance, in addition to working for the National Institute of Fine Arts, el Instituto Nacional de Bellas Artes, where she was also in charge of organizing traveling exhibitions in smaller cities and more. She photographed her friend María Izquierdo, Rufino Tamayo, Diego Rivera, José Clemente Orozco, Frida Kahlo, of course, David Alfaro Siqueiros, Julio Castellanos, Francisco Toledo, Juan Soriano, and writers such as Salvador Novo, Octavio Paz, Carlos Monsiváis, Javier Villaurrutia, Carlos Fuentes, and more. Not only she was a great photographer, she also worked hard to cultivate the visual arts of Mexico. She opened her Galería de Arte Contemporáneo, where she exhibited various artists such as Siqueiros, Kahlo, Orozco, Doctorat, Tamayo, Leonora Carrington, among others. Even the first solo show by Frida Kahlo was held here, which opened on April 13, 1953. Fotográfica, Fundación Televisa collection, has a great short video about this, where Lola speaks of how she asked her friend Frida to hold an exhibition in the Galería, and how Frida was so excited, and later on, how in the inauguration, Frida had to be carried on a bed and put in the middle of the Galería because she was feeling ill. Lola Álvarez Bravo was forged in a world in which women had a very specific role, and she had to fight against the patriarchal stereotypes of the years of her artistic development, like Kahlo and Izquierdo did as well, and many other women. Lola Álvarez Bravo comments, "I was the only woman who was jumping with a camera in the streets, in the sport parades and on September 16th, and all the reporters made fun of me. So I became a gallo, a rooster." A heart attack suffered in 1961 forced her to close the gallery and sell her negatives to the Instituto Nacional de Bellas Artes. They are now preserved in the Center for Creative Photography at the University of Arizona. Among her disciples are Mariana Yampolsky, who we spoke about in a previous episode if you want to go back to that, and Raúl Abarca, but her influence is greater, extending to Graciela Iturbide, Flor Garduño, and many more. Her work has been exhibited in various places around the whole world, and her fame is spreading thanks to the efforts of art historians such as Elisabeth Ferrer and Olivier Debroise, who have written about Lola Álvarez Bravo extensively. In 1980, she began to lose her vision, but continued to work. Lola Álvarez Bravo died in 1993 in Mexico City, just 4 days after retiring from professional activity. Oh, and by the way, Elena Poniatowska also met her. I'll leave you with this quote from the writer Octavio Paz. "She is a person of great importance in the life of Mexico, especially in the period from the 1930s to the present day. Lola is an artist of undoubted talent, with an eye and great sensitivity, and fundamentally, she is a witness of those moments in which Mexico begins to be made. That is, at the moment when we, the generation of contemporaries, reaches maturity. My generation begins to write. Lola belongs to this period in history, literature and art of Mexico, and she has been, on the one hand, a witness of this age, and on the other, an expression of this time." As always, I'll leave the bibliography in the comments. I especially recommend Lola Stories from the Macay Museum, which is available on YouTube. I also use the book Lola Álvarez Bravo by Elisabeth Ferrer and Lola Álvarez Bravo in Her Own Light by Olivier Debroise. There's other information and news that I am leaving in the comments. This bilingual podcast was produced by me, Rebecca Navarro. If you like it, subscribe and follow us on your preferred platform. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, or send me an email with all your comments and suggestions at arteinclusivopodcast@gmail.com. Remember that you can wait for a new episode every other week. I am leaving the references on the links below. Thank you for listening, and let's make exclusive art inclusive.